Hey everyone, it's Daz from Quarter Circle Jerks. So I just want to go ahead and show you something I just recently finished up. So I picked up one of these Apache 3800 uh, waterproof cases from Harbor Freight. If you're curious and want to do this yourself, they have them on sale right now for about $34, which is incredibly cheap for a Pelican style case, right? They're about 12 by 15, 6, 7 inches tall. As a point of comparison, that's a pair of sunglasses. It looks bigger without a point of comparison, but what I did is I used this for my Switch 2. And if you're looking for a really protective case, particularly if you're going to travel where, you're going to have to maybe fly or something like that, or throw it in the back of your car, this would be perfect. In fact, it was just big enough to have the stuff that I personally care about. Now, if you also want a Pro controller, you might have to do a different layout than I did. But basically, what I have here is my USB-C cable, my charge cable. I have my HDMI cable. And when I'm done, they're not zip tied or anything. I just, put them back in the baggie. I have my modded dock where the front panel is missing, which actually gives me that room for the cables. I have my system here. Ta-da. And I have my Joy-Con 2s attached to the dog bone controller, like so. That slides in just like that. And no, it doesn't activate the buttons or anything, which is great. And then I have my AC block. Because I have a spare dock, this is my spare modded dock. I also have another one that's permanently in my office. It comes with a spare AC adapter. So if you do want to do something like this, instead of constantly having to go ahead and put in different cables and maybe buy a different AC adapter, and then having to move the dock from your living room or office or wherever the fuck you have set up to the case, I'd recommend just getting a spare dock. Even if you just end up not modifying it like I did, I'm sure you can fit in these cables in here relatively easily. And yeah, so one thing that I will note is that each layer is at a set depth, which is about like 4 cubes deep. If you're to break this stuff away, as you can see, there's 2 layers of that. Unfortunately, you can't break it into single layers. So for something like the Switch 2 here, which is obviously not very deep, put this back in its place. There we go. What I ended up doing was I have this piece of foam that's very thin, and then I ended up ripping layers that were a single layer and put that underneath here. It's like blocks of 3, and then cut this to size and put that in there so it's not as deep. That way my system isn't falling into something that's like half the depth of this case, and it's worked quite well. The reason why I put this piece here is just because when you have those chunks of 3x3, they tend to want to pull up a little bit because they're not all attached to themselves. So that keeps it nice and firmly down. And like I said, this does not push down on the buttons or anything like that. It's the perfect height. There's a piece of foam rubber that doesn't have any cubes that you can break that's on the very bottom, which is what this and the dock is resting on. Kind of like this, but without the egg crate. And yeah, when you're done, you're good to go. And it's a super, super nice case. Really recommend it for the price. So if you're looking for something, figured I'd give you a recommend on this. I'm sure you would be able to find something similar. In fact, there's one on Amazon right now for about $43. That's pre-cut for Nintendo Switch 2 system and devices. Personally, it didn't work for me because I have these Joy-Con joystick extenders here, which make mine wider. So the pre-cut ones wouldn't have been good for me. I could have modded it, but I figured spend less money and make it the way I want versus spending more money and it doesn't even really fit my needs. So, but if you're wanting everything in a stock setup and you want it to fit a Pro controller, same size case is on Amazon as well. Obviously not the Harbor Freight one, but just some random third-party Chinese stuff. And yeah, so that's it. Hope that helps.